Welcome back to the C-Space studio here at CES 2026. I am James Kotecki, here with the president of U.S. go-to-market ad sales at Warner Brothers Discovery, Ryan Gould. So pleased that you could join us again. Thank you so much for coming back to the C-Space studio.
It's absolutely my pleasure. Happy to be here.
Okay, so what brings you to CES 2026 this year? What are you excited about?
Yeah, so, CES continues to be the intersection of, in our industry, entertainment and innovation, and we work really, really hard to not only engage fans on a day-to-day basis, but modernize our go-to-market approach from a B2B perspective. So a lot of our core partners are here, a lot of our clients are here, and it's a great way to kick off 2026.
What's some of the modernization from that perspective that you're talking about? What are you thinking about?
Yeah, I think everyone's really talking about AI and how we can use AI to not only streamline current workflows, but create net new opportunities not only for advertisers, but also to engage fans and audiences in new ways. So, I'd be remiss not to start this conversation off early to reference AI.
Well, let's get into that. I mean, I always think about it for these kind of conversations in relatively two buckets. One is kind of all the behind the scenes stuff, and then one is what a consumer might actually see from a creative perspective. But starting behind the scenes, I mean, this has been a conversation I've had in the C-Space studio for several years now about AI optimizing workflows and making people's jobs more efficient. How much more room do you think we have to run there? Are we still, as people sometimes say, early innings with this, or are people really getting a handle for how to make this more efficient?
Yeah, I think we're approaching the end of early innings, but I still think that there's a tremendous amount of opportunity and runway in front of us. When I think about AI internally and how we work on a day-to-day basis, I get really, really excited, but I'm also cautious because if you apply AI in a way that is an added layer, it can actually introduce additional complexities. Yeah. So you have to be very disciplined in onboarding AI. And then enablement, right? We've got a pretty large sales organization, so training our teams and training our workflow and infrastructure to adopt AI in meaningful ways is a challenge. Yeah. But the opportunity is worth it. I mean, not only can you free employees up to spend time on, quote, more high value work, but you can also get to market faster, you can decision better, and you can run a cleaner, more efficient business.
And when you were talking about the AI that you've added relatively recently behind the scenes, as I say, does the interface look like an LLM, or is that not how we should be thinking about AI in this case? Is it really more kind of the guts of the algorithms that are showing the data and the reports to people, that's what AI is really talking about?
Yeah. It's a combination of both. So we leverage AI to enhance the system infrastructure that we have today, but we're also building net new features within our ad tech stack that wouldn't be possible without AI. So we've got a whole team working on this. We've been able to ship some pretty exciting opportunities and enhancements over the past couple years, and I'm really excited to see what 2026 brings us.
And what's your opinion on AI's value on the creative side, the front of the house, what consumers are actually experiencing? Sometimes we've seen people kind of not be as into AI ads or ads that are perceived as generated by AI, but where do you fall on that?
Yeah, I'm less excited about AI augmenting creative and content. I'm more excited about AI showing the right ads to the right people in the right context at the right time. I would argue that the human touch of creative, whether it's in advertising or content, is going to be relevant and needed for the long term. But I do think leveraging AI to enhance human creative is definitely the world that we'd like to move forward into.
And what are you measuring right now? What are you measuring as far as the definition of success for you right now? And is that changing, right? Because of the different kinds of data you can get and the different kinds of problems that you're needing to solve?
Yeah, so to zoom out a little bit, I go into the office every single day, and my definition of success is to create predictable, repeatable, reliable revenue. And, to double click on that, the way that we do that is we drive results for our clients. But not only for our clients, we need to drive results and performance for our clients that entice and engage our consumers. Yeah. So if we support that ecosystem of us as a programmer, bringing advertisers into the fold, but exciting our fans and our consumers, and they show results, that creates reinvestment, and that creates that predictable, repeatable, reliable revenue. And performance is probably top of mind for every marketer and agency here at CES. But again, if you solely focus on performance, there's a lot of pitfalls in that, ROIing yourself out of market share, not focusing on brand and culture, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So it's really a balance.
Tell me more about brand and culture. Is it the idea that you can have short-term gains, but long-term you can really hurt yourself if you're not careful?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I think, again, if you look at return on advertising spend or just ROI, you can convince yourself through a spreadsheet and reporting that you're doing a really, really good job.
Yeah.
Right? I think if you zoom out to 6 to 12 months down the road, if you focus too much on ROI and not replenishing that funnel, your business could be in a pretty tough spot a year or so down the road.
And that maybe is, again, where you need a human brain, a human mind on that issue of like, yeah, these numbers look good, but I, as a person who also maybe kind of consumes this content or just understands this experience as a human, know that this isn't optimal, so we shouldn't be doing it that way.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Do people trust even less in today's media market? It seems like the trust issue is a very challenging one for all media companies right now. How do you build trust and community in an environment where it's increasingly fractured? Not just because of AI, that's one factor, but many factors.
Yeah, so I think the first pillar of establishing trust is being predictable and transparent, right? So when I say being predictable, it's offering consistency, right? It's consistency in the type of ways that you produce content, the talent and personnel that is behind the camera and in front of the camera. Yeah. But it's also being very transparent. And if I think about the B2B trust dynamics, it's in where are your ads running, how did they perform, are we being ultra transparent in pricing and where pricing's going. And then from the B2C perspective, it's much of the same. I think, again, if you look at the streaming and direct-to-consumer landscape, there's a ton of volatility in the price. There's a ton of changes in the ad load. So again, if you ultimately serve as a programmer and a media owner, if you serve those two consumers, B2B and B2C, with transparency and predictability, I think that those two pillars are a great start to establishing and building trust.
And from a consumer perspective, not that all the content is completely formulaic and predictable that way, but more that if I see the Warner Brothers Discovery logo in front of some content that I'm viewing, I can be confident that it's going to be good content. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, we absolutely would hope so and agree with that. At Warner Brothers Discovery, we spend, a lot of time, energy, and effort making sure that we have professionally produced content across all platforms that not only engages but is rooted in credibility and trust. I'm thinking about CNN right now. Again, there's so many different platforms that we program towards consumers on, and again, we need to maintain that authenticity but also credibility and build trust.
For advertisers looking at programmatic, are there trends or issues there that you think folks are missing but you have your finger on the pulse of that you can call out for us now?
Yeah, programmatic is definitely in a state of maturity. And I think that we've moved past the need to effectively target audiences programmatically. Mm-hmm. Where I think we're going is really looking at the supply paths and supply path optimization in the supply chain. The reality is that there's a lot of issues and there's a lot of noise within the programmatic pipes. Mm-hmm. They do perform and you are able to target audiences across all platforms, but I think that there is a movement to ensuring that that the supply path is clean and it's direct to premium experiences and audiences.
Do you think we have, this is a silly question maybe, but do you think we have enough data now? Like, do we just need to use the data that we have in better and more thoughtful ways? Or is there still some data out there that you don't have yet but that you want to get?
Yeah, frankly speaking, I think that we have too much data at our fingertips and to
know what matters.
Yeah, and there is definitely an opportunity for more data to be used in decisioning, and not only programmatic, but direct relationships between media owners and advertisers. I would say that as an industry, we need to do a better job of honing in on the right data and the data that's most meaningful to that ecosystem that I referenced earlier. Are we driving value for brand advertisers, and are we driving value for our consumers? We need the data that fuels that result.
Well, it's always great to talk to you here in the C-Space studio. We hope that you come back yet again. Ryan Gould, Warner Brothers Discovery's president of US Ad Sales Go-to-Market. Thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure. See you next year.
And thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you very soon. I'm James Kotecki here in the C-Space studio at CES 2026. More after this short break.